I have a total of 12 Ring devices. 5 of these are solar-powered Ring stick-up battery cameras installed on the outside of the house. Recently, one of the last few solar stick-up battery cameras started to fail, even though it's connected to a solar panel and there were not many event triggers activating the camera. Somehow, the battery discharged at a very high rate. Join me in this video as I explain what data I collected in order to provide these to Ring technical support and get them to send me new replacements. You see in the picture on the left, there's a Ring stick-up battery camera installed within this metal housing that I made. The housing acts as a sun and rain shade for the camera. The housing also acts as an extended platform to mount the solar panel so that it's extended out and is able to receive full sunlight during the day. I made this rain and sun shade out of a standard rain box gutter. Have a look at the video description and you'll find a link to the video where I built this sun and rain shade. I installed this solar stick-up battery camera in October 2022, just a few months ago. It is a Generation 3 stick-up battery camera and the solar panel is version 4, which can output 2.4 watt at 5 volts DC. The way I've installed the solar panel on the housing, it receives full sunlight during the day, as you can see. In February of 2023, I lodged a fault ticket with Ring technical support that the camera system is discharging at abnormally high rate, and after some time I even turned off motion detection after several weeks and the battery was still discharging at a very high rate. After a period of several weeks where I noticed that there was this faulty Ring solar stick-up battery camera that was discharging at too high a rate, I decided to start collecting data on the battery level percentage on that faulty stick-up battery camera against all the other good working solar stick-up battery cameras I had. What I will show you now is the data from that faulty camera system against one of the good camera systems. The two cameras compared are both stick-up battery cameras, Generation 3. They have solar panels, version 4, 2.4 watt, 5 volt DC. They're both installed to outside a house and both solar panels are exposed to full sunlight during the day, and I collected battery level percentage and the test was conducted over several weeks. The chart showing the battery level for the good functional Ring solar stick-up battery camera against the number of days. The graph shows that over a period of 50 days, the battery level fluctuated between 100% full charge to 99%. It never dropped below that. And this was with the motion frequency at frequently, the higher setting, and sensitivity at maximum, also the higher setting, and motion detection turned on for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So this solar stick-up battery camera system is performing very well. For those of you who are not familiar with the Ring application's motion sensitivity and motion frequency setting, here is what it looks like. On this page, there's a screenshot on the left of the motion sensitivity screen and on the right the motion frequency screen. We start with motion sensitivity. On your mobile phone app, you will be able to select sensitivity from max down to minimum simply by using your mouse to drag the button left or right to any position you want. My guess of what this setting does is, at maximum, the infrared emitters on the camera would be at full power. This would mean that objects further away will receive infrared and hence be able to be detected by the camera. At minimum setting, my guess is the power of the infrared emitters is the lowest. This means that detection distance is reduced. For motion frequency, there are 3 settings, the lowest of which is periodically, which therefore provides maximum battery life. Then at the middle, it is regularly, which provides medium battery life. And finally, there's frequently, which provides the shortest battery life. Continue with me in this video as I explain to you what the technical definition of these 3 settings are in terms of scan and sleep period time cycles. This is based on written information obtained from Ring technical support. Now we'll look at the graph for the faulty Ring solar stick-up battery camera. Here is the graph. The same thing, battery level percentage on the vertical axis, number of days on the horizontal axis. What this graph shows is that the battery level started at 100% and within 2 days it dropped to below 50%, and then it climbed up again, then it dropped, and the long-term trend is that the battery level keeps dropping, and after 50 days the battery level is below 20%. And I can report that as at today, even several weeks after that, it is now at 8%. So what happened is this: initially at day 0 I set motion frequency at the higher setting frequently and sensitivity also at max. However, after 2 days, when I noted that the battery level dropped to below 50%, this was not sustainable, so I changed motion frequency to regularly and sensitivity to medium, and the battery level percentage picked up. However, as I mentioned, there's a long-term downward trend of battery level, so seeing that it was never ever going to restore itself, after a period of about 4 weeks, I turned off the motion detection completely. One would expect that with motion detection turned off completely, the battery level would pick up and will be charged higher, but that never happened, so there was something seriously faulty with the system. And you'll be right to wonder whether there are too many events triggering the camera each and every day. However, I can report that there was only probably 2 to 4 events triggering the camera system a day, and that's very low. And as I said, after about 4 weeks, I had actually turned off motion detection completely, and yet the battery level never restored itself. So something is seriously wrong with this solar battery camera system. With this information, I called Ring Technical Support, provided them the charts of all the good working solar battery cameras and also of this faulty solar battery camera system. I also provided Ring Tech Support with the photographs of each and every camera installation, showing them the housing that the camera is located in and also how the solar panels are installed on the roof of each of the sunshades. Ring agreed that there is something wrong with this camera system, and initially Ring said they will replace just the camera for me and not the solar panel. However, I explained to Ring that with the information so far, it is not possible to determine if it is the solar panel that is faulty, or the cable connecting the solar panel to the camera, or the camera itself which is faulty with a parasitic power leakage. I did tell them that I do not believe it's the battery that is faulty, because this is the second new battery that I had put into the system to test whether it was the battery that was faulty. But even with the second new battery, the camera system was still discharging at too high a rate. Ring accepted my diagnosis and agreed to send me a complete replacement of a new solar panel and stick-up battery camera system. This is the new solar panel device that Ring sent me as a replacement. The model is 5F80E9. It is slightly bigger, slightly more powerful, and a much better stand compared to the old product. Let me show you a side-by-side comparison. On the left-hand side is the old version 4 solar panel model. It has a length of 199mm and width of 140mm and capable of 2.4 watt 5V DC output. On the right is the new 5F80E9 solar panel model. It is slightly wider at 169mm, slightly longer at 205mm, and has higher output of 4 watt 5V DC. The old stand was only a one-way manual tilt stand, and it was not reliable. It would not lock into position, and sometimes when locked cannot be released. For the new solar panel, it has a two-way manual tilt and pan stand. It looks a lot more robust, and the two-way adjustability certainly gives it a lot more flexibility with mounting setup. On the old solar panel, it came with a 4-meter long DC barrel plug power cable. On the new solar panel, it is a shorter 2-meter USB-C power cable. And in order to connect to the stick-up battery camera, which has a DC barrel socket, Ring have provided a very short cord adapter, which has a USB-C socket at one end and a DC barrel plug on the other end. Overall, the new solar panel supplies 67% more power than the old V4 model. On the right is the new stick-up battery camera, which I believe is still the same generation 3 as the old stick-up battery camera. In my phone call to Ring technical support, I pressed them to provide me technical definition of what the 3 settings for the motion frequency are, because Ring does not publish the definition of the scan and sleep period cycle, and without that technical definition, neither I nor anyone else can actually understand what those 3 settings mean. So Ring messaged me with written information about what the 3 settings are. Follow me and I will explain to you what they are. The lowest setting is called periodically. It operates a 2 to a 10 to a 30-minute sleep period cycle. This means that when motion is detected, after motion stops, it begins a 2-minute sleep period. After the sleep period, the camera wakes up and scans for motion for 1 minute. If motion is not detected, the process resets and begins a 10-minute sleep period. After the sleep period, the camera wakes up, scans for motion for 1 minute. If motion is not detected, the process resets and begins a 30-minute sleep period. Steps 5 and 6 repeat indefinitely as long as motion is not detected. Means that motion detection takes a long break after each motion. That is why this setting results in the longest battery life. The second setting is called regularly. It operates a 1 minute to 5 to 15 minute sleep period cycle. This means that when motion is detected, after motion stops, it begins a 1 minute sleep period. Then it wakes up, scans for motion for 1 minute. If motion is not detected, the process resets and begins a 5-minute sleep period, after which it wakes up, scans for motion for 1 minute. If motion is not detected, the process resets and begins a 15-minute sleep period. Steps 5 and 6 repeat indefinitely as long as motion is not detected. Means motion detection takes a break after each motion, and that is why this setting results in a medium battery life. So finally, several months after I've installed all my Ring devices, I now understand what these motion frequency settings actually are. The first Ring device I ever installed was a Ring Doorbell 4, and I had initially set motion frequency to regularly. And when I tested it standing in front of the doorbell for about 1 to 2 minutes, walking in front of it 1 meter away from the camera, I was very surprised that it did not detect my presence. So I figured that regularly had a long sleep period. So from that day on, I set my doorbell and all my cameras to the highest motion frequency, which is called frequently. The last setting, frequently, operates a 0 minute to 0 minute sleep period cycle. Means by default this setting will react to each motion it detects as a separate event. There is no sleep period with this setting. Absolutely wonderful. Motion detection always stays active, and this is why this setting results in the shortest battery life. To never miss any motion events, my Ring Doorbell 4 and all my stick-up battery cameras are set to motion frequency equal to frequently and sensitivity equal to max. Therefore, it's important to connect Ring battery cameras to solar panels so that the batteries can be recharged. The new model 5F80E9 solar panel with 4W 5V DC are more powerful at charging than the old V4, which is 2.4W 5V DC model. So if you can install the new models or have to replace the old with the new, it is a better option. Now that you and I know the definitions of the 3 motion frequency settings, frequently, regularly, and periodically, I can see why Ring does not make this technical information public, and I can also understand why some Ring users will be surprised why their cameras and doorbells are not detecting any motion when they are standing right in front of it. For myself, I will always have the settings at frequently because I want to catch every motion. I want to know who has come to my front door each and every time. I hope this information helps you. I will be installing the new Ring solar panel and the new Ring stick-up battery camera, and I will be monitoring how this new Ring solar battery camera system performs. I do hope you found this video interesting and informative. Do hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more and help the channel grow. Thank you so much.